what we're doing is trying to hold a debtors assembly, and that's a chance to offer everyone here the opportunity to get up here on the mic and tell their story about being in debt.
I have the $85,000 in student loan debt, and my friend was just joking over there, like, I said I have negative $85,000, and he's like, yeah, you're worth less than nothing, and I was like, wow, like that is what it means in our culture, like in our society right now, to have debt, that like that is how little we're valued. And so I don't know, so I know that's why I'm here, because this number this number will be with me for the rest of my life. Like, I'm never going to get rid of this much debt. Doesn't matter what I do.
Let me see. I think I'm in about $20,000 worth of debt, right? It was $40,000, but they forgave some. And then when I went to find out about the rest, they had sold it to about 2 or 3 different banks. Now it's way out in Idaho somewhere. Thing is, I'm 51 years old, right? So I'm not going to pay that debt, and I'm not even thinking about that debt, so that means that I'll probably never own a house, a car, or anything else.
I think I have $89,000 in debt from my schooling. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's, and I feel good about the degrees I got. I feel good that the job that I have from them. But what I don't feel good about is the amount of interest that I'm going to have to pay it back. And I think that's what I didn't understand when I was signing those dotted lines. That, yeah, I'll take out the $80,000 to get the degree so I can have a job that pays more than $20,000 a year. But like, I didn't know I was going to pay like $200,000+ back on top of it with the interest.
For 12 years, I worked at a part-time as an adjunct professor of English. Again, my income was not sufficient to be able to meet their requirements for regular payment. The loan was defaulted, and they took they regularly deducted from my paycheck, which they continued to do out of Social Security after I lost that job. So that $10,000 loan is now $55,000. I have no way of paying it back. If I were in a situation where I owned a house or a car or had people who were dependent on me, I would be screwed.
I owe $28,000 in student loans, and I'm not paying back any of them.
I agree.
Right.
Education should be free.
I agree.
Medicare doesn't cover anything. It covers some of the stuff, but now I'm expected to pay out of pocket for cancer treatment. And do I want to pay all my money and die poor, but do I want to live?
I just heard someone say as they were passing something along the lines of, well, you're in a lot of debt, maybe you shouldn't have spent so much. And I personally am not in debt, but because of the decisions that I made, I don't have a college education, I don't have dental care, I don't have medical care that I need in order to just keep myself healthy and to go beyond like just having retail jobs for the rest of my life.
You probably can't read this, but I have $50,000 of student debt, which I owe to Sally Mae. We're starting a rolling jubilee in New York, and we're going to kick it off here. We're going to send off $45,000 of debt. Someone brought their debt here. Thank you, whoever you are. We're going to send it away.
Be gone, demon! Be gone!
I graduated in 2011, top of my class, and with $30,000 in debt. I was unemployed for a whole year, and that year was really scary because, first they give you a few months, expecting, you'll certainly find a job, in 6 months. And then you don't, and you're not paying your loans back, and then these phone calls start coming. And they come, and these letters come, and they just sit there, and they start calling you more often, 2 times a day, 3 times a day. I was getting phone calls 5 times a day, and didn't know what to do. At first I wasn't paying my debt because I couldn't, and then the more I learned about how corrupt and ass backwards this debt system is, I stopped paying my debt for ethical and political reasons.
I have about $20,000 in student debt, which I've been actively resisting for 10 years now. I haven't gone into default. They give you about, if you qualify for food stamps, you can get about 6 years where you're not accruing interest when you don't have to make payments. And then after that, you get about 3 to 5 years of forbearances where you can be accruing interest but not make payments. But I just wanted to add into the mix that over the last 10 years that I haven't paid my $20,000 of debt, because of inflation, it's actually worth less now than when I borrowed it. And I've actually come up a couple $1,000s by not paying the debt and waiting for inflation to catch up.
I'm constantly several $1,000s in debt to the government on back taxes. I've done work, I've had jobs where my employers have classified me as an independent contractor, like a freelancer, when in fact I kind of worked regularly in an office using the I-9 tax form, if anyone has seen that before. So, you know, approximately 30% of my income I need to pay to the government, but I actually need that money.
We're made to feel less than human because we can't pay our debts. But it also prevents us from getting jobs, because most employers do credit checks now. It prevents us from stable housing because landlords do credit checks.
My landlady double mortgaged, reversed mortgage. She was a prey to Bank of America, who made phone calls to her and perhaps even sent somebody to the house. She reversed double mortgaged the house. In other words, there were 2 reverse mortgages taken out on the house. And then she died. And so then it was left to her adult children to pay off that money. And a real estate agent told them that with a tenant still living up on the 3rd floor, the house would never sell. Therefore, I was told I had 30 days to leave. Now, that I've since found out that that can't happen. That's not true. But I didn't know it then. So in like some sort of a state of panic, I moved in 23 days, and I moved to a real crummy property where I was then taken advantage of by slumlords, etc., etc. And in the end, my apartment got robbed.
When graduating high school, I was told to attend a 4-year private college because it would offer me better opportunity for a job. 2.5 years through my education, I started receiving denials for loans to pay for my education, and then I got pregnant with my first child. So the phone calls started coming in to pay off my student loans, and I was pregnant with my first child. I had no health care. I had a job that I would be soon leaving when I had my daughter, and I felt lost. I was told, you know, we were pinned, my family was pinned against each other. My parents co-signed, and they were bad because they were not paying the debt that I owed, and I was bad for them because I was not paying the debt that I promised to pay under their signature. So, I mean, now I'm apprentice in local 690 to be a plumber so that I can pay off my student loan debt. It's not something that I'm trying to avoid, but it's something that I thought I would have had a job to pay off, and I never received that job. I never finished. I was in school to be a nurse, so my life totally redirected, and you know, my family has been struggling. I'm one of 10. All of us are in student loan debt, and my parents ended up claiming bankruptcy because they're struggling, and you know, we messed up their credit. So it's just like a vicious cycle, and it really works to pin family members against each other. It's sad because we come into my parents' house who are the most loving, welcoming people, and they're saddened by their debt, and we're saddened because we put them in this situation. They're sad because they couldn't provide, education for all of their children, and so it's something that needs to be stopped. People need to have a conscience when, I get calls and I'm constantly fighting with people because they're telling me my parents are bad people, and they have no idea who my parents are. They have no idea what I do. They have no idea, all these people are labeled as bad and ignorant and lazy because they were taken advantage by a system that they had no idea, was working against them in the first place. So, that's it.